Hi students, it's Mrs. Terrell again for a little mini lesson. I'm in my geography classroom up on the main campus, but I don't have any students with me because I covered this topic with them a little earlier and didn't record that portion of class. So I'm going to do that portion that you need, that you've missed. I'm going to do that with you right now. So today in my face-to-face geography class, I covered the topics that I've already covered with you through that first 15-minute video that you took notes on about what geography is and the differences between cultural geography and physical geography and the kinds of questions that we ask. So I covered that with them today and also gave this brief overview about the 5 themes of geography that you can see in this Word document that I'm going to post online for you. So this discussion, let's see, the video that you've already watched from the first mini lesson and this mini lesson, this corresponds to pages 5 through 28 of chapter 1 in your human geography textbook. Let me get that textbook. I'm looking over here for it now. I'm not sure if I showed you a picture of this textbook when I was going over the syllabus, but anyway, everybody needs this. You don't have to have the 11th edition. You can have the 10th, the 9th edition, something like that. But the pages I'm giving you for the reading assignment right now correspond to the 11th edition. Page 5 through 28 is your reading assignment. So the video you've already watched and then this one correspond to the beginning of that reading assignment, about the first half of that reading assignment. So next week, our lessons are going to be, we're going to go in depth into each of these topics I'm going to just abbreviate with you right now, just to get you a little bit more information that you can use for a reaction paper for Saturday of this week if you would like to do that. So this video has information in it that you will be quizzed over, and you can also use it for a reaction paper. There's a third thing you need to be aware of for this video. This is your introductory video for the information that you're going to need to use to do your first project in this class. If you look at our syllabus, we have 4 projects. They're each worth 100 points each, and the first one has Mr. Help in the name. So you can see Mr. Help that I have here on the Word document, and Mr. Help, each of the letters, the H and the E go together, but each of the letters in Mr. Help correspond to the 5 themes of geography. So there's a section in your reading assignment, and the heading of that section is called the 5 themes. And so when you get there, you will notice that the textbook author and I have a different order that we go in. I think she starts with location. I can't remember, but she goes over the 5 themes in a different order than this. I like to go over them in this order because this is the way I learned it way back when, and also it gives us this neat little acronym to use to try to help us remember what the 5 themes are. So Mr. Help. Mr. Help corresponds to the 5 themes of geography. And it's designed to help you get it? It's designed to help you remember what the 5 themes are. So when we have a quiz, you will definitely have some quiz questions that correspond to one or more pieces of information from the first video and this one. And so please make sure you take notes not only with the quiz and the reaction paper in mind, but keeping in mind that your first 100-point project, you're going to use this information and the next 2 or 3 lessons worth of information to ace that first 100-point project. So if you don't already have your notes out with you, or if you haven't already printed this Word document to go along with me, then please get that ready and let's start. So this is the 5 themes of geography. Mr. Help is the acronym that you should use to remember what the 5 themes of geography are. And you can see I've broken it down here, what each of the things are, which each of the letters, and in this case there are 2 letters here that go with one situation. I've misspelled that. Let me fix that misspelling. There we go. Anyway, so Mr. Help, the M stands for movement. So in geography, of course, we are talking about spatial features in geography. We're talking about cultural habits and ideas and foodways and all kinds of things for that happen across the globe, across our state, across our country, or even globalization, which is a topic that is covered in your reading assignment for this first unit. But movement happens all the time, whether we're talking about people themselves moving or birds migrating for the seasons of the year or ideas moving from one place to the next. Right now I'm using YouTube to move my ideas and the lecture information that you need to be successful in this class, move it from my physical location here where I am in my classroom to you wherever you are. Some of you might be on a military base someplace in Germany or on vacation in India or something like this. So movement happens all the time. And so movement is one of the major themes in geography. How can people move? What's the method? Do they need mechanized transportation? Is there a satellite that is transmitting my text message from here to my best friend who's in South Africa right now, or something like that? So how does movement happen? In which direction? Is it ideas? Is it customs? Is it traditions? Is it people? Is it diseases? Right now, in current events, you might have seen the news about what is it called? Oh goodness, I can't remember the name of the virus that is going around in China. I think it started in China, and someone who visited his family in China flew from there to, I think, the Chicago airport. Is it called the coronavirus? I think that's what it is. Anyway, if you haven't heard of that yet, you could look up, just Google the coronavirus, and you'll see several news stories that talk about where it originated, what they're trying to do to contain it, and how it's moving, and how they want to try to combat that movement so the rest of us don't get sick and we don't have an epidemic. So movement happens in a lot of ways by a lot of things. And that's one of the major themes of geography. We'll look at it more in depth in our next lesson. Region is also a major theme in geography. A region might be governed by physical features in the environment, surface or subsurface features. Perhaps there are some regions, like a region that we call the breadbasket of our country, where wheat and corn and other grains that are used in, commonly used in our food supply, grow really, really well because of environmental factors. So the region where we live can govern perhaps the kinds of things that we plant in agriculture, or perhaps the region we live in is a more cultural region like the Bible Belt, where people tend to engage more in spiritual activities and have a lot of churches and church going as part of the culture. So regions are important also in geography. I'm going through some of these examples very, very quickly, of course, because the major part of what you need to know is what these things stand for. And in our next lessons, I'll focus much more time on movement, much more time on region, much more time on the other things also, so you can fill in a whole bunch of notes that give you some clarity about what all these things are. Okay, also human environmental interaction. That's what the H and the E stands for in Mr. Help. So humans and the environment interact. I don't know about you, but in the summertime in Arkansas, it gets really, really hot. And this woman interacts with her environment by going indoors, closing my windows, and turning on the air conditioner. There's an interaction with my environment. That interaction with my environment that tends to be a habit of most of the people that I know, it influences a whole bunch of other things in my culture, like how much I pay for electricity, how much electricity the electrical supply company ensures is available in a certain area. You might have heard, some of you might live in a place, and you might have heard that sometimes there are blackouts for electricity at different peak times, where an energy company intentionally cuts off the electric supply because there's too much pressure on the grid. So that's just one example about how humans interact with their environment. There are a lot of places in Arkansas, for instance, that have a high groundwater level. And so groundwater is kind of where you hit moisture and that moisture seeps through. It's actually not just mud. You have the dirt and the water separate because you've hit standing water in the ground. And because we have so many regions in Arkansas that are subject to that, most of the times when people build houses in those regions, they either build them on a foundation above the ground, so they have a crawl space under their house, or if they build them on a slab, if they're able to build them on a slab right on the ground, they're not going to have a basement. So even the design of a house can be linked to, we can argue successfully that even architecture and designs for houses are human and environmental interaction. So we'll go into that much more in depth in some of our next lessons. The L and the P stand for, well, this doesn't stand for place. The L stands for location. Sorry, I wrote that really quickly and then didn't look at that. The L stands for location. Sometimes there is a relative location and sometimes there's a specific location. So for instance, when you ask your phone or your car GPS or whatever you've got, when you ask, is there a KFC around here? And Siri tells you, I found this option. You want me to get directions? And you say yes, then that is a precise location. Siri is going to take you within 2 meters of that particular KFC doorway, right? And so that's a precise location. Sometimes location is relative, like if I call my husband and say, hey, I've got a prescription ready at the Walgreens the Walgreens right by UAMS. Okay, so I've given a landmark, UAMS, that he's going to know about, and I haven't told him, is it north, is it south, is it east, is it west of UAMS? I've told him UAMS is my landmark, it's my location, and it's the Walgreens right by it. Can you go by there and pick up that script for me? So that's your location. It can be precise with latitude and longitude, pinpoint location, or it can be in general. A relative location, like, hey, the gas station across the street from McDonald's in my neighborhood, something like that. Okay. Also, place is an element of our Mr. Help. Place can be a natural part of the environment. It can be a man-made part of the environment. Place can overlap with the location that you're talking about. It can overlap with the human environmental interaction, especially if it's man-made. I can say, let's find a concert at Simmons Bank Arena. There is a place I'm talking about going. And because of that place, there might be a certain kind of atmosphere that goes with it and that affects the way I'm going to behave, the people I'm with are going to behave, and that sort of thing. Your place within a landscape can also give a lot of information about if you look at like a town and the layout of a town, for instance, there are certain places within that town that might have high income houses, whereas there are certain places in that town that might have low income houses. There might be a certain place that has strategically been planned to be a landfill where everybody's waste and garbage goes, for instance. So place is an important concept from geography. Also, it's the 5th of our 5 themes of geography. And in the next lessons that we have together, we will go over these much more in depth, and you need to take great notes because that's how you're going to ace your first project with me. And I will talk to you again soon. Look for me next time on YouTube. Bye.